afternoon, everyone. We're going to get started. Good afternoon. My name is Dolly Williams, and I am the representative for the Congress of Black Women of Canada, the Preston Area Chapter. It is my pleasure to welcome you to this very special event celebrating Black women who made a difference in Nova Scotia. We'd like to thank the Black Culture Center for Nova Scotia being our host this evening. And also special thanks to Russell, who has been really involved with us, and you'll see the video that he completed down the road, supporting us, celebrating legacy. And also I want to give kudos to the Dunmore Buddy Day that was a part of this project, and the Council of Black Women. And we just want to say thank you to those. Without those two organizations working with us, this would not have come to fruition. So I want to thank those of you a little bit more than later. So at this time, Lindsay is going to come deliver the acknowledgement, the land acknowledgement. Oh, by the way, Lindsay and I are co-singing together.
Should be fun.
Indeed.
My name is Lindsay Ruck, and we would like to begin our evening by acknowledging that the land upon which we work, live, and gather is Mi'kma'ki, the traditional territory of the Mi'kmaq people. We recognize and respect the enduring presence, contributions, and cultural heritage of the Mi'kmaq people, who have stewarded this land for generations. We honor their rich history, their deep connection to the lands, and their ongoing relationship with it. We acknowledge the historical injustices and ongoing impacts of colonization, including the displacement and mistreatment of Indigenous peoples. The effects of these actions are still felt today. In Kjipuktuk, Nova Scotia, we recognize that we are all treaty people. Quite separately from the land acknowledgement, I want to draw attention to the contributions of those who did not come to explore, to conquer, or possess the land. But they came to Mi'kma'ki, some by force, and others seeking freedom and independence. African Nova Scotians arrived here 400 years ago, and from that time on, they have contributed to the infrastructure and economic wealth of the towns and cities they helped to build, but from which they could not benefit. Let us endeavor to learn more about the ways in which our own respective communities were shaped by the historic contributions of African Nova Scotians to the province of Nova Scotia. We ask that you now please stand if you are able and join us in singing of the Black National Anthem. I'm not leading it. There was supposed to be a track, but if there's not, should I wait? You don't know? Okay. Unless anyone is so bold to lead it for us.
I can try.
Okay, yes, Miss Sylvia.
It needs to be a group effort.
Okay, sure. Here we go.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty.
silly, don't go pass by for nothing, girl, go. Hello. At this time, I want to invite the Honorable Twyla Gross, our MLA for the Preston Township, to say a few words. Please welcome MLA Twyla Gross.
Good afternoon, everyone. Certainly want to acknowledge the honorees. I think there are 5 Black women who made a difference. Oh my goodness, bless you. And the good thing about it is I know all of you. You know, it is truly a privilege to stand before you today. Not just as a minister, but someone who deeply understands the importance of recognizing the extraordinary contribution of the women in our communities. Yes. I want to thank the Congress of Black Women, Preston, Cherrybrook, Lake Loon, Westfall, and area chapter, along with the DBDI, that's the Buddy Delmore Day Learning Institute, and the Black Cultural Center for your vision and dedication in bringing this follow-up edition of Black women who made a difference to life. These stories are personal to many of us. They remind us of the sacrifices made, the barriers broken, and the challenge overcome by women of African descent, many of whom never sought recognition, only justice and opportunities. As we celebrate these trailblazers, we also acknowledge that while much progress has been made, there is still so much more to do. I've seen firsthand the strength, the resilience, and leadership of women shaping our communities. But I've also experienced the ongoing struggles, the times when our voices go unheard and our efforts unrecognized. This project is not just a tribute to the women who came before us, but a call to continue the work they started. Today, we celebrate those who paved the way and inspire those who follow. But let's also commit to supporting each other, lifting one another up, and ensuring that future generations of women know their value, their power, and potential. A thank you to everyone who contributed to this project. Your work ensures that these stories live on and inspire us to keep pushing forward. Together, we will continue to make a difference. I thank you.
Thank you, Minister Twyla. We have a wonderful evening planned ahead to celebrate some amazing trailblazers in our community. So let's get started. We want to explain why the project started. Back a couple of years ago, I keep wanting to call Sylvia doctor. I think she's getting there soon. And she called me at home and she said, Dolly, you know, we're going through the COVID and we should think about the women that have been through the struggle and women be honored and what they've gone through and how they're coming through the COVID and how they went through. So anyway, they're going to see this story. So as of now, we launched this book. One of the things we want to look at, we want to capture was having women tell their own stories on a film. So thanks to Russell Gross and the Black Cultural Center, we're able to make it happen. So before we hear from the women who are here today, and also I would say the son of Katila Yakmanchak, who passed before he had a chance to launch the book. So I want to thank you, brother, for coming and standing and playing your mom. So before we hear from the women, we're going to have the film being played. Now we'll listen to the film.
I'm well, thank you. So it's exciting that we're here together today to say a little bit about this project that we're doing together. And I don't want to keep it as a mystery, so the project is sharing Black women's voices, leadership voices. I was really happy that a few years ago we were able to take the book that the Congress had developed, Black Women Who Made a Difference, and share that with our community. And really, here at Dalmore Buddy Day, the work that we do around community connections, valuing people's voices, centering our community, I was thinking about it and I thought, let's take that book up again and do something with the Congress of Black Women, with your local chapter. And so when I reached out to you, I was so glad you said, yes, let's do something together.
Yes, and I want to thank you for that. It was exciting because you know what? The Congress was saying, in fact, it's funny, when you called me, I was just talking to a couple national groups, and they said, what are you guys doing now? I said, we just got a call from Dalmore Buddy Day Institution. They want us to go back and look at our book, Black Women Made a Difference, and go through there and just setting it up. And that was so powerful. So for me, it was like, yes, let's do this together. Because in fact, you calling, you and I worked together in the past and doing a lot of projects. You worked with us with the Congress. When you were in the Department of Education, we did a lot of work together with you in the Department of Education and so forth. So for me, it was a great way to get it. I said, Buddy Day, it's another educational piece. It's different, but it's the same format, educating our community about women, especially Black women, because we don't hear a lot about Black women in Nova Scotia, but our Black women that are not necessarily in profession, but we don't hear about what we did. We looked at all women, all categories, because I thought it was nice. So I thought it was really great when you said, let's do this again. So for me, it was great.
That's when I started really getting interested in women's rights and that. And when I even went to the hospital, I could see how some people were treated. And this was white people, some of them. They were getting treated because of lack of education. They weren't being treated fairly. See, I always had a thing about fair. Everybody deserves to be treated fairly. Never thought that it was anything to do with human rights, just as being a person, treating another person properly. I went to a union meeting, and the table was white, and it was male, except down line, one sister was sitting there, Cecile. She was white. She's from Cape Breton, and we were good friends. But everything was the guys. And I thought, I can do what he can do. So the first contest that came up about it, one of the guys went to a conference, didn't bring back anything, and I stood up and objected about it, and I said, I can do his job. I says, he's getting paid for doing something I said that he's not even doing. So the election came up, and I ran for it, and I got it. Didn't know what I was going to do with it after I got it, but I got it. And then I got into the politics side of it, and then just started moving up, and I learned how to read and open up my mouth. As a Black woman, and as for speaking for most Black women, we got a double. And God help us if we also had a disability. So there you would have it that you're a woman, you have a disability, and you're a person of color. Nobody wants to see you if you're a woman, but they'll take a woman over disability and color. That's not right. If something's wrong with your arm or your leg or some other part, you might be physically challenged. But there's nothing else. You shouldn't be treated like you're non-existent. That's not fair. And if you can't get to the top by yourself or something is stopping you, reach behind you and pull out the sister or the brother that's behind you. Give them a hand up. Don't get at the top and say, I made it, I don't know about you. Yeah, you have to know about the person coming. You reach back. Always take time to reach back. Don't leave any door closed. If you want to go through that door, open it and go in. And don't go in the back door, go in the front. If there's two doors, take the front door.
My early education takes me back to The segregated school in East Preston, it was originally it was just two, it was a two-room, but by the time I went to it, it was more than a two-room. But it wasn't really a big school. But I remember it so well because that was my foundation for my education. I had such wonderful teachers. They were so supportive, and they made sure that they were very loving, and they were very caring, and they made sure that their main purpose was to equip us with the necessary educational tools to go further in life. Precious memories of my father, James Thomas, and my mother, Marguerite Thomas. My father maintained 3 jobs before he passed away at a very young age in a tragic accident. And I clearly remember the stories that he told me during his weekly visits about his full-time job as a laborer on the historic Citadel Hill. And he worked to help restore the Citadel Hill to its Victorian era appearance. My grandfather, Deacon James Slaughter, and my grandmother, Mrs. Ina Slaughter, they brought me up. So they raised me. My grandfather was very political. So he would take me to political meetings. At that point, I did not know municipal from provincial from federal politics. To me, it was all one. But through his education, because he felt that it was very important for me to learn how the political system works. And so through him, by going to meetings, I learned the difference between the 3 levels of government. The telephone company, like I told you at the beginning how I started my job there. I was asked. I used to go to union meetings. I used to keep abreast of. Didn't go to a union meeting for a few years, but I received this phone call from an ally, and said, "You know what? You would make a great president. Why don't you run? There's going to be an election." And I said, "I can't do that. I can't do that. I haven't gone to a union meeting in ages." They said, "Yes, you can." So anyway, they convinced me, and I ran for the position. And to my surprise, I won at that time 69% of the votes. I was able to gain confidence with the membership. And I think the reason, the way I did that was to make sure that we held union meetings in all of the communities in Nova Scotia and Prince Edward Island. So people knew that I was a very open-minded person and also willing to listen and take their problems serious and make sure that they were dealt with.
Education was very important to her. She felt that education was the entry point into changing your life trajectory. So that was her story. That was all of her work is around, community and housing. And discrimination and racism that she experienced, and fighting for systemic change to happen, not only within institutions, but within other public, spheres, so that those after her or those right beside her could have access, which for years, and because she was coming from a generation of where they didn't have access, this was her motivation. This would be what would drive her, and opening up those doors. We always talk about reaching back, or the Sankofa word, which is always about reaching back, right? And bringing us forward. And so it was very important to Mom that she did that we do that. Help, we carry one another, and we support one another, and we lift one another up. She'd say, never let anybody define who you are and what your journey will be. That was one of her stories where, she was on her way home to Sydney and stopped in a restaurant in Antigonish, her and one of her nursing student colleagues. And they told her as they went in that she couldn't order, she couldn't eat. But Mom was embarrassed and insulted and horrified. And these are real stories when people think that, the Black community is always going on and on and on. These are real life experiences that people have gone through. I think that Mom would say that parenting and good parenting, part of that is role modeling, and part of that is being open, and that unconditional love means actually unconditional love.
My spiritual journey started when I was, just a child in the community. And we had to go through, I got baptized when I was about 12. And I started teaching Sunday school, I think, when I was about 15, 16. Then I became a Sunday school superintendent and church counselor and church clerk and all that sort of stuff. And I never thought of being a teacher. I thought I was going to be like my mother. I thought I was going to be a stay-at-home wife. Being the youngest child, I had a lot of nieces and nephews, and I used to play school with them. I had a lot of them that were only about 5 or 6 years younger than me, so I started teaching, I guess, when I was only 9, 10 years old. And so this became natural. I got a Bachelor of Arts in English, double major, English and History. And then I knew I wanted to go into education. So after that, I went to, at that time, it was a place called Atlantic Institute of Education on Halifax Street. And with special education, I wanted to work with kids with learning disabilities. So I did that, and then I got my BEd in counseling, would have been when I became a guidance counselor. I think the main thing, because I saw other teachers and guidance counselors or people that, for the Black students, I found that they trying to divert them to community college. And even if somebody had the grades and if they wanted to apply to university, they said, well, what about community college? Because I was just told that just lately. One of my nieces told me that. And she applied to go to a university to guidance counselor. Oh, no, the university's hard. You should just go to, you should go to community college. And I was told the same thing when I applied. The one thing that saved me from not applying to the college was because of my English teacher. Well, the main thing is to be yourself, and if you have the opportunity to travel, to see other nationalities, or even within your country, because a lot of us, even in our own province, we don't get out and travel. We stay in our own communities just to get out and see how the people live. Don't get stuck in your own little world. That's kind of sad. Like, I think you should, mix and mingle with people, and as I said, basically be kind. Try to be kind to people and share what you have with them.
My upbringing was rooted in the church, as both of my parents were very active in the church in many organizations, also in the church, both my mother and my father. We had a community life which more or less centered around the church. Black Baptist Church, the Cherrybrook United Baptist Church. Church was always an anchor for me growing up as a young person. I have to say I owe a great debt to my parents, both my mother and my father, but particularly my mother, because she was a strong black woman, matriarch of our family. She put a great deal of emphasis on our education because she herself had been segregated school teacher and went as far as she could for her generation. After I graduated from Mount St. Vincent, I did work at the Human Rights Commission, and that helped me to apply to law school. My law school experience was mixed. In the 70s, when I attended, it really attracted many of the students from the upper echelons of Canadian society. Some professors would go the extra mile to encourage me, and I had some excellent professors. Some of the students, they would let you know that they didn't think you should be there, and there are many times I questioned whether or not I should continue on. I'm glad I did overall, but I'm not going to say it was an easy journey for me. It wasn't easy. It was challenging year after year after year. And of course, when you're the first one in your family to go to university, who do you rely on to give you guidance? Who do you rely on to give you mentorship? At the time when I was appointed, of course, I was very aware of my place in history in Nova Scotia, but not so in Canada. Of course, that I became aware of that later. One of the most inspirational speeches came from Mrs. Pearline Oliver, the bigger picture for our community. She said that my appointment was a debt owed to black people in the province of Nova Scotia. It was very powerful. Yeah. I always remembered those words. It's not because I think that anyone owed me anything. I worked very hard and I faced a lot of discrimination on my way to the bench, and including on the bench. So, you know, I experienced that as a young girl growing up. It didn't stop throughout my life. And even now, going into certain public places, you can sense the hostility when people throw things at you, or they ignore you in a store, or they assume all the negative things about you because of the color of your skin. So I know about that. It's not because I think anybody owes me anything. I've worked very hard and against a number of odds.
Watching that made me think, and this is going to sound like a shameless plug, but it's not. When I was working on my first book about my grandfather, Calvin Ruck, I got to sit, and she's over there, in my grandmother's living room, Joyce Ruck.
Yes.
Who's 95 next month.
Yes.
I was able to sit in her living room with my little recorder for hours, and she told me story upon story, which many of you were part of those stories. So I just thought, how blessed are we to now have this video and have this book with all of your beautiful stories. So thank you. Thank you. Now we're thrilled to have another black woman who is making a difference in our province here with us today to deliver the keynote address. Dr. Marlene Ruck Simmons is the Executive Lead Strategic Initiatives for Nova Scotia's Department of Education and Early Childhood Development. She was previously the Senior Executive Lead Strategic Community and Government Relations. They don't give you short titles, do they? With the Office of African Nova Scotian Affairs, as well as the Executive Director, African Canadian Services Branch with the Nova Scotia Department of Education. Dr. Ruck Simmons has a Doctorate of Education, Educational Leadership and Administration from the University of Toronto. Her passion for education and amplifying African Nova Scotian history and heritage through our school systems and educational facilities shines through in all that she does. Please welcome Dr. Marlene Ruck Simmons.
history. I was sitting back, listening, watching, reminiscing, trying to pay attention to what was being talked and shared, valuable life lessons. Truly, it's a gift. I want to say thank you to the Congress of Black Women. Thank you to DBDLI for envisioning this project. You know, the Bible talks about faith being the substance of things that we can't see. And back in COVID, you envisioned this day and you worked diligently to ensure that this day would happen. And so we're gathered here as much as to celebrate you, the honorees. We're also celebrating the organizations that work behind the scenes to make today happen. So I just want to say congratulations to everyone who's gathered here today. It's truly an honor to be joining you this afternoon. And it's also a testament to God's greatness, His faithfulness. The Bible declares that He's faithful throughout the generations, and that He said He would not only bless us, but He would bless our children and our children's children. And as you shared the stories of your parents and your mothers and your journey, we can see that blessing being passed down to us in 2024. So I just offer gratitude to each one of you today for embarking on this journey. We know there are many of you who are in the audience who also had stories to tell and to share. We hope one day there will be that opportunity to hear that. Well, I am so excited to be here, and they've given me a couple of minutes to share with you what God has shared on my heart this afternoon. I want to say good afternoon, dignitaries, minister, distinguished guests, families, community, and of course the honorees who are here this afternoon. I want to express my gratitude for the invitation to join you on this prestigious occasion as sponsored by the Congress of Black Women and the Delmar Buddy Day Learning Institute. And we have gathered this afternoon by the grace of God to recognize the remarkable accomplishments and strides made by 5 outstanding women and those who have come before them. In this time together, I want to really center what God talks about, because the book is entitled Excellence. And we know that God has left us His word, which describes for us what does Black excellence in women look like. So I want to take a moment to talk about Genesis 2:18. The Word of God, the Bible speaks about the wonderment of creation. And within this account, we hear the Father's love for humanity and the desire to have His children who are fashioned in His own image, individuals capable of establishing, conceiving, overseeing, and nurturing His creation. This account also speaks to the intentionality of womanhood and the realization that the spoken landscape in all of its beauty required a helpmate. Individuals who would be able to lead in unique ways to display and demonstrate the glory of God. The helpmates were His intention. You are His intention. Those who are being honored today were His intention. So what exactly does it mean when I say helpmate? And I had to go back and look up what did the Hebrews decide and think about when they talked about helpmate. Well, the word in Hebrew means ezer, and it's seen 21 times in the Old Testament. It's used twice to describe Eve. It's actually used 3 times to talk about when people were helping in life-changing and threatening situations. In fact, 16 times in the Bible, it is used to describe God. A helpmate, a helper, a protector, a rescuer. And didn't we just listen to some of the stories about how these honorees stepped in to rescue, to help, and to protect? So when you think of the word helpmate and women, you're actually getting a snapshot of why these remarkable women were able to accomplish such achievements. They have been imbued with the strength and power to do the impossible. It's just in them. and dare I say, it's in every woman. The idea of Help Day is significant, and moreover, to this afternoon's occasion, for we are gathered to pay tribute to individuals who have helped to empower, to strengthen, to restore, and enhance individuals within their communities, the Nova Scotian landscape, national landscape, and dare I say, in many respects, the international landscapes. For they have worked to align society in ways that are more just, kind, and equitable. We are here today recognizing women that have protected, rescued, and empowered others. Women who have stood in the gap when others said it could not be done. Women who have stood up for justice and spoke boldly about what ought to be versus what is. Women who have also used their ingenuity, their gifts, intelligence, and insight to recreate and build hope. Today's honorees are trailblazers in their field, many of whom were the first or among the first to carve out pathways for others to walk without stumbling. The Bible tells us in Romans 13:7 that we are to give honor to whom honor is due. And so today, as you are acknowledging these profound women, we know that you are celebrating their many gifts and talents. But how do we recognize these women? I'm sure when they were in the trenches, those dark days when it was only themselves in the rooms trying to figure it out, how would we have known that they were these remarkable women? Proverbs 31 is the best place to go. Verse 1 and then 25 to 31. So where are God's women of excellence, and how can we identify them? We heard a little bit about their stories. We hope to see more. But the Word of God tells us quite directly how do we recognize these special individuals. In verse 10, it asks the questions because we need to ask the question. In 2024, are there virtuous women still here? Are they still committed? Are they being seen? Are they working? The answer, the Bible says, is yes. And it tells us that we will know them because their price is far above rubies. That a virtuous woman's wealth and impact is priceless and rare. Verse 25 says that they possess strength and honor, and that although they may not be rejoicing now, there will come a time when they will rejoice. That tells me that I am to look for women who carry themselves with elegance and who understand who they are and whose they are. And that know that the many battles that they are engaging in and often waging war against are sometimes intimately known but not publicly recognized. These women, the Bible declares in verse 26, they open their mouth and they speak with wisdom. That means that even though their words may not be understood, or they may be misunderstood, muted, or their words may be misconstructed, that they speak life and they represent life to those who hear them. Their judgments and their considerations are not rash, but founded in insight and compassion. Their words promote peace and are able to dispel confusion. 27, verse 27 tells us we can recognize them because it says that God's women of excellence are forward-thinking in that they're not looking out for themselves. They're looking out for the welfare of others. They're not content with today. They're content, as we heard, with those who have come before them and those who will come after them. They're not self-seeking. Verse 28 declares that women of excellence have a strength and a beauty such that when they're not around, we crave to be around them. We wish they were here in our presence. just one more time. And that you long for the opportunity to see them once again. And in the absence of that, you are remembering the sweetness of their beauty. I love verse 29 because it talks about that there are many daughters that God has. But those who walk in excellence have a special beauty and a presence and a relationship with God. We are honoring Dr. Clotilda Yakimcha, Carletta Wayman, Connie Glasgow-Sparks, Betty Thomas, Judge Corinne Sparks. Verse 29 says, you have excelled them all. That your journey has not been in vain. That the tears that you shed silently have not gone unnoticed. God has recognized them, He has seen them, and your community has seen them. Verse 31 declares that, give her of the fruit of her hands. That means they have labored, and now it is our time to pour into them. To pour into them gratitude, thanksgiving, and blessings. And we also must take away what they have shared with us. Their stories have taught me, as I'm sure they have taught you, that we must above all recognize that we have been created. We have not evolved. We have been created by the Most High to make a difference. Number two, we have to realize, as they have realized, that greatness comes through a measure of faith, meaning they didn't have the end when they began, that they walked forward each day. They had a belief that their actions, decisions, and thoughts would one day make a difference. And they have. Number three, we have to and we must lean into the unexpected at all points in our lives. Their lives teach us that life's greatest victories frequently come to us through the most challenging opportunities, experiences, and events. And lastly, we have to recognize and continue to recognize that there is always more in us than when we have begun. And we must realize, as the Bible declares in Hebrews 12:1, that we are surrounded by clouds of witnesses. And we heard a little bit about that. Some of those witnesses who are now watching and who have cheered you on and who have been in the trenches when nobody else was there. Their stories and their love continue to be with you. 1 John 4:4 also declares that there is always greater in us than in the world. Your lives and your stories have taught us that. Your perseverance, your tenacity, your love, your passion. I could go on, but I think you know what I'm getting at. You are Black women of excellence. We thank God. The Bible says in Jeremiah that before we knew you, He knew you. And to think that we would have a loving Father that would create you for us, for our community and the world. We're so grateful to Him for you. So as I close, I want to acknowledge the goodness of God. He has been with us as our community, within our community. He goes before us. He will be after us. There is no one greater. He is the Most High God. And we serve Him. We serve a living God. And you've proven that He will take us through every test, every trial. And the Word of God declares that He has the victory through everything. Thank you for your testimonies of faith and endurance. We are so grateful for you. We thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts. We love each and every one of you. And Kenny, we love Aunt Clody. We We love each one of you. Thank you for standing strong when there are times that you could have given up. We thank you and we bless you today. Thank you so much for allowing me to just share some thoughts. May God bless you all.
Thank you, cousin. So we're going to invite the women who are here today to join us at the front. I'm going to ask Ms. Dolly to also join me as well for the Q&A portion of our evening. But I also want to acknowledge, and I believe they are here, representing the Nova Scotia Advisory Council on the Status of Women. Oh, she was right at the back there waving. Okay, thank you for being here. Without their generous funding, the printing and launch of the book would not have been possible. So I'd like to thank them very much. So we're now going to move into the Q&A portion of the evening. And I promise, ladies, this will be painless, this will be easy, but this is our opportunity to hear from each of you. So I'd like to invite you up, and you can take a seat here at the table. Ms. Carlotta Weymouth, Judge Corinne Sparks, Ms. Betty Thomas, Mrs. Connie Glasgow White. And we'd like to also acknowledge, of course, the late Ms. Clotilda Douglas Yekenchuk, that her son is here today.
Well, this is question time. And my first question is, why did you agree to be a part of this project? And what was it like going back and talking about those early years and about the core memories of your life? Anyone who can go first?
Well, I'll start. Well, as you know, my sister's Dolly Williams. And that's one of the reasons, and I can't remember what they said, but anyway, I guess we all had stories to share, so, and it didn't seem at the time it's going to be that difficult, but then the more you talk about the past, and you reminisce, and I'm the type to get emotional, so, but I guess, yeah, it was a worthwhile experience for me. That's all I have to say.
Well, I'd just like to add to Connie's comments. For me, I used to be a member of the Congress of Black Women in my other life as a lawyer, and so I wanted to support the Congress. But can't hear. Is this better? Better? Okay. Well, for me, I used to be a member of the Congress of Black Women in my other life as a lawyer. And so when I was approached by Carolyn Fowler, who has a very persuasive way about her, I thought it would be good for me to reflect on my career, but also to give back to the Congress, which supported me when I was practicing law. It's not because I thought I was so great, because I always remember the words of Dr. Martin Luther King. And he said that everybody can be great because everybody can serve. And so I guess it's been one element, one part of my life where I have served. And so I wanted to share my testimony with others.
Good afternoon. I'm probably in the same boat as Connie. Dolly and I go back a good many years, so we're in the Congress, we're in the Union, we're in quite a few things together. And the thing with Dolly, God love her, if you're not listening, you're doing something. And this is what happened. I said no. She said yes. Carolyn said yes, and that was the end of the story there. I love her dearly, but I'm trying to think of some place where I can send her like I did a few years ago, and I'm working on that. But the project was fantastic. Read the women's stories, because I got a chance to read them before they completely went into print, and not many of our lives are that much different. It's just that we kept everything to ourselves. My Aunt Joyce, who's sitting over there, told stories, and she told us a lot, but I didn't have the sense to write them down. So a lot of what she told me is going to be lost. I'm hoping that Lindsay has taken a recorder or something with her and gotten some of these stories, because this is only the beginning. I'm sure there's a lot more out there that our children and their children need to know.
Well, I am feeling very, very emotional today. And I first want to thank Dolly and Carla, and also Carolyn Fowler. Yes. She called me on, Carolyn, I am busy today. But Carolyn kept calling. And finally, she knew how to make visits. She said, I'm going to come to you. You don't have to come to me, I'm going to come to you. Oh, okay. So with her and Dolly, you don't say no to them, her and Dolly. And so it was like, okay. And then after going through that process and going back, thinking about all those things that happened, I mean, like it just brought back so many, many, many memories. And it was like, okay, this is all worthwhile, and let's put it out there, let others hear. And as a result of it as well, I've been, if I just mention that we are in this book, people seem to want to read it. So I've sold close to 40 books so far. I haven't, and it wasn't even I didn't even make an effort to sell. It was like, so just talking about it. And I would say to them, well, you know, I want you to know about my colleagues that are in this book. Yes, we want it, okay. And just this morning, I was at a meeting and I delivered 5 books.
Sounds like we were all voluntold in different ways.
But you know what? We all, even though we've said that we were voluntold, we love Dolly and we love Caroline.
Yes, absolutely.
Let's also properly acknowledge Ms. Carolyn Fowler, because she did all of the interviewing and the transcribing, which is not always easy pulling all that information down. So let's keep thanks. Okay, next question. And we're welcome to have questions from the audience as well, so I will ask mine, but if there is anyone who has a question, we will move out next. So in the book and the film, you all talk about your experiences in the workplace. And you talk about racism, about resilience, about sometimes being on an island by yourself, because you were a Black woman amongst a sea of white men, typically. And my question is, which is a really loaded question, but has much changed in your perspectives?
I would say that from what I have experienced, things have changed somewhat. Not totally, but it has changed somewhat. You still have to always be prepared. I remember when I was the president of the union, walking into a room whereby they were all men, and these men were feet up on the table, and they were just totally not respecting me at all. And so, in that case, I had to say, you know what? You don't have to like me because I don't want you to like me. But you're going to respect me because I am representing the clerical people in this union. And with that, whenever I would go into a room, then they would stand up. So I say all that to say that it has changed somewhat, but you still have to put them in their place, put people in their place.
I guess I would answer that question as a yes and a no, Lindsay. Yes, it's changed because we as African Nova Scotians are far more familiar with our history now than we ever have been. And when I reflect on my time in school, it was maybe one sentence about African Nova Scotians, and there was a little picture of Bunga from Africa. Many of you may have had the same history textbook. It was all negative, and it was very negative about the indigenous people as well. So the school curriculum has changed. It's more positive. We have more black teachers. But then at a social level, we are more engaged in the community as well. We have black educators, we have black social workers, we have writers like you who are documenting our history. We have the Buddy Day Learning Center. So there are many positives in our community, but we need to understand that we have to involve everybody from the community. There's a wide spectrum of people who can make contributions in different ways. And certainly if someone like Dr. Martin Luther King couldn't eradicate racism, then we know that we all have a role to play. So it's still there, it's still percolating. Many of us who have been in the workforce understand that there are a lot of microaggressions against us, and they're palpable, they're there. But I take a lot of fortitude from some of the young people, like yourself, Lindsay, but many others who are not keeping their head down, they're keeping their head high, and they're making a contribution in various spheres. Black doctors, black social workers, black writers, and so on. So this gives me great inspiration. It really does. So it's a yes-no answer, but that's the way I view it.
Well, I think I've seen a bit of a change, and I also have come out of the union, the same as my sister down there. I just got finished doing a union project, and when I walked into the building, it was changed. When I got there, the guy looked at me and another one, and then he said, "Wow, I know who you are. There are legends in the building." And I'm like, legends? Legends, right? So they wanted pictures of us and that and the other thing, but that was fun, and I smiled to myself because I thought I was instrumental in getting other sisters interested. Of course, we were always the type to sit back because we weren't white. We weren't a man, so unions weren't for us. What were we doing there? What could we say? What could we do? Now, they're taking positions in the union, they're moving them forward, and they're letting their voices be heard. And I'd like to think I was a little bit part of that. And so I'm very proud of that fact.
Okay. Hey, clap for it. Yeah, I've been retired for 20 years. In my last assignment, I was a principal at a junior high school, and it wasn't a very positive experience because a few of the men, well, all the men were white, and they sort of resented me because the principal and the vice principal before me were females. And when I went, they said, "Oh gosh, here we go. We got 2 more women to boss us around." And it was a difficult assignment. But then after I retired, because I developed an illness and I couldn't work, and one of the men came to me and he apologized. He said, "I have to say to you, Connie, that we didn't treat you fairly. You were a very good principal. You took care of the kids and the parents loved you, but we the staff, we didn't treat you the way we should have treated you. So I admired him for being honest and acknowledging the fact that they were not fair, whether because of my race or because I was of my sex. But my daughter, she's was in education as a guidance counselor, and I could see a bit of a change there. And I'm very happy to see that a lot of, and I can't say where all black male teachers are, but a lot of the black females are in administration, and it's wonderful to see. We've got a lot of young black women that are administrators, and so that's very positive. My concern is some of our children aren't taking school seriously, and that's always been on my heart for the children. They have to take education seriously. A lot of them just don't seem to have the interest, and they want to, you know, fashion or whatever music and everything is good, but the thing is they have to understand that they need an education in order to open doors and just to go further. And that's one of my fears, is that they seem to be regressing that way, not being too concerned about their education.
I just wanted to add one thing. I was in training a few days ago for a supervisory role for the election on Saturday. It was the very first time that I ever sat in a classroom when there were more of us. And I kept looking, and I was like, I was so impressed that that was a change. There's a change. That was evidence, I should say, that there is a change. And also, the training focused on how to treat people from other ethnic groups and so on. I have never witnessed that, but a few days ago I did. That's a change.
Is there anyone in the audience who would like to ask any of these women a question? Could you listen?
Okay. Judge Pratt, this question is for you. What would you say, just a minute, my chest is pounding. Not because I'm stressed, it's because I'm happy. And I'm trying to keep my voice down because I get excited, I get loud. So I just want to say.
We know that, darling. That's why we like you.
So my chest is pounding because I'm
That's
excited.
okay, darling.
So, Judge Sparks, what would you say, or what piece of advice would you give to a black woman who, like you, is blazing a trail and working in a prominently white or male environment?
Well, that's a tough one.
Yes.
I think there are many things to keep in mind. First of all, never let anyone take away your self-respect. And when they try, don't allow them to succeed, because there will be folks in the workplace and beyond, in the broader society, that will tell you you can't do it. You're only a DEI, meaning diversity, equity, and inclusion person. You don't have any credentials. You have to believe in yourself. And I know it's not difficult. It's not easy. In fact, it's very difficult at times. But you have to also surround yourself with people who are positive, people who are making good choices in life, people who are grounded sometimes in the church or in their spirituality, so they can look beyond the immediate misstep or the immediate onslaught and take you to a higher ground. So I don't have all the answers. All I know is this, that it's important to make good choices and to consult with elders and people in the community that love you. And you know, in terms of my journey in life, coming from a small segregated community, I had so many people in the community that prayed for me. All the elders, I mean, all the older ladies in the community, I knew them all, I loved them all. They're mostly all gone now, but I would see them on the bus in Halifax, or I'd see them in church, and they would all tell me, We want you to succeed. So be around people who are positive, people who are going to encourage you, and people who see you for who you are and for your potential.
Okay, Ms. Carlotta, this one's for you. Now, in the book, you talk about being followed in stores and how you handled that particular situation. And I love you said, after this experience, when someone was going to follow me, I would tell them, well, you might as well push my cart and watch me. And that stuck with me. And I hope they did. I hope they did push your cart. So I want to know, and you can elaborate on that as well, but what have you found most effective when it comes to creating change? Because each of you have done it in different ways, and you've each carved your own path in very different ways. So for you, such as a Black person walking into a store, we know that it still happens. I'd like to think it maybe happens a little less. So what is the best way to handle those situations and to go about changing that situation?
I don't know if it's the best way or not, but I normally turn around and confront them now. I'm old now, so my patience is very short, and I don't have much time in front of me, I don't think. So when they're following me now, I turn around and I ask them, excuse me, are we going the same way? Have I got something that belongs to you? Or do you not have something else to do? Not getting the answer I want on that, my next move is that perhaps I need to see your supervisor. I don't have time to play anymore. See, years ago I had time to play, I don't have it now. So straight to the question. Then maybe I need to see your supervisor. And usually they go their way and I go mine. But I've been known also to leave. And yes, Lindsay, I did tell the woman that it was the woman in. Everybody must remember Zellers up at the up the bridge, and this big, heavy-set woman. Wherever you went in her lycra suits, because that's what you wore, lycra pantsuits at that time. Wherever you went, if there was a Black person, she was with them. So I had to ask her, did she want to come shopping with me? Did she want to push the cart? Or whatever. Well, she says, well, when you're going to walk behind me, you may as well make yourself useful because you're getting paid for a job, so you may as well.
This one is for Betty. Betty, in the book, you talk about the impact of Black educators on your life. While you were attending Potts River School in East Preston, people like Gus Wedderburn, Doris Evans, Gertrude Tynes. Can you talk a bit about how their presence and support impacted your life?
Yes, well, thank you for the question, Dolly. They were the people that you just mentioned, they were my mentors. They were, and Gus Wedderburn, when we left the little school in East Preston, and we were going to Edna Westphal School, it was like, oh, we're going to this new environment. And so he worked with the trustees of the school in East Preston and also with the educators, and they had the education in the evenings, and he set that up so that, and also he set up a system whereby we could go for classes to get help with our work, which was so wonderful. And he made that, he was the one that spearheaded it, but with all the teachers and persons that you mentioned, they were part of that. And so I actually have a picture, I still have a picture of us sitting in that classroom whereby it was the mentoring class. After our mentoring class, in order to help us get through that new phase that we're going to this new school. Hope hope I've answered your question. Because I could go on. You have to stop me. Don't, you can stop me, you know. I
And I have a question for you, Ms. Connie. In the book, you talk about the impact and influence that your mother had on your life, and I certainly know the impact that my grandparents and that my parents continue to have on my life, and a lot of my decisions are based on their impact. And now I have children of my own, and there's technology, and there's social media, so I'm not the only one in their face anymore. So I'm wondering, how do we continue to inspire our children, and how important was it for you to have those role models in your life?
Okay, first of all, talking about my mother. As I said, I didn't plan on being a teacher. I wanted to be like my mother. I didn't want 16 children, mind you. But I did, but I really did. I just admired her. I remember going home from school one day, and she wasn't there. And I panicked. And I was running around calling her, and she was just up in the Berry Woods or something, and she came, "What's wrong with you, child?" I said, "Oh, I didn't know where you were." I said, "I was so worried." But anyway, I wanted to be like her. She was just to me, she was just a wonderful person. I just loved her, down to earth, and she was a lot quieter than myself and Dolly. She was just a wonderful woman. Anyway, and then when I was in school, I'm going to answer part of Betty's question. When I was in school, was Mrs. Embry, who was a white lady, Mrs. Cromwell, and with a few other teachers that always said to me, "Decon, you could be a teacher," and that was never in my mind. That was never in my mind. And then when I went to high school, it was an English lady, Mrs. McMullen, was the one that also, Mrs. McMullen and Mr. Risby were the ones that told me that, no, you should be a teacher, and they, you know. And Miss McMullen actually was the one that took me to the Mount, Dalhousie, Acadia. She drove me to those places so I can see. And at that time, I was very naive. I just thought that university was a continuation of high school, because, as you say, nobody else, I didn't know anybody else had gone, so it was because of them, I have to say, that they inspired me, and they were the ones that encouraged me. Because otherwise, I would never have gone on to the Mount. And I forgot what the question was now. But anyway, no, but they were inspirations. And the thing is that as I said, nowadays I'm just concerned that the young people, that they focus on their education, and you know.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah, that's a really good point, focus on education. Yes. But education comes in many forms.
Yeah, that's true.
Not everyone can be a teacher,
No.
not everyone can be a union leader, but the important thing is to find out what you can excel in life, so you can make a contribution.
So that was our final question. Is there anything you guys want to add or say to the audience that they can take away?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if anyone can take this away, but certainly I echo Connie's comments about the role of my mother. Mothers are very powerful within the family dynamic. And yes, mothers are very powerful within the family dynamic. And in our culture, matriarchs are very powerful in the church, in the community, and in the family structure. And so I think it starts early. When you see a child, and you see a child has certain gifts, certain attributes, as a mother, it's up to you to try to accentuate and encourage a child to make wise choices and to build on the gifts that they've been given.
Yes. I know this is not part of the program, but Cartella's son Kenny is sitting over there, and I was just wondering if there was anything that he learned from his mother or that she left imparted upon him that he could tell us a bit about before we do whatever else it is that we're going to do here today.
Well, thank you for putting me on the spot. One of the things that she would always say is that when she met people shut up, how she got.
Can you come to the
Oh, sorry, just give me 1 second. Oh, yeah.
You'll figure it out.
I'll figure it out. So briefly, one of the things that my mother would always say is that what's meant for you shall not pass you by.
Right.
The other thing that she would say, education is never a burden to carry. And as well as you heard my sister say, never let anyone define who you are and what you do. So whenever a problem would come about, she would say it takes a lifetime to build a reputation, 15 seconds to lose it. So always put your best foot forward and always do what you can do and know that you're blessed. And that you and the Word of God, nothing can stop it. So education for us and our family was always a big thing. Support for one another was always a big thing. Community was always a big thing. And know that it's okay to ask questions and it's okay to get help when you need help. Don't be too big for your britches, they would say. Right? So when you know that you know, and when you know that you don't know, you gotta ask questions. So overall, she would say, have faith, believe in community, believe in family, believe in self, and things will be okay. So that was it. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Karen.
At this time, we're going to hear from.
Can I just add one thing
Yes,
to this?
yes.
Just,
Yeah.
when my sister talked about in the stores, how they, follow you and so on, I can't tell you how many letters I have written. When they follow me, I ask them, okay, what's your name? I get their name, I get the supervisor's name, and I say, I don't want the supervisor here, I want to know who's in charge, wherever they are, Toronto, Montreal, whatever. And to make a long story short, I've written so many letters now I'm tired.
Get you good there.
And I keep writing letters, but I keep getting responses, and also, a few of the stores in Micmac Mall have given their employees training in diversity.
So that's good.
And they actually, for them to even get back to me to tell me that is wonderful. Thank you.
Well, thank you, ladies. At this time, we're going to do a little bit of presentation. But before I do, I just got to show you guys, those who haven't seen the book, this is the book. And the Black Culture has it on sale. You better purchase today, but they want before they leave. But at this time, we're going to call Carolyn Fowler. Please come forward. Yes. As you heard, this work was done by Carolyn. And as they tell you, she did not let them rest easy. She was excellent. So if you want a book written, hey, call Sister Carolyn. This is an excellent book. Come on up, Carolyn. We have to written. Get up. Okay. So Carolyn, on behalf of the Congress, Delmore Buddy Day, Black Culture Center, we want to thank you by presenting you with this plaque and also these flowers. So thank you so much.
One quick thing I want to add besides saying thank you to everybody. The best stories are not in the book.
Right.
The best times we had was when they told me, turn off that tape. Don't write that down. Those are the best stories. So the stories that you're going to read are just scratching the surface. There's a whole lot more to be told. And I thank you very much. Thank you.
To say we all said if it hadn't been Carolyn interviewing us, we probably wouldn't have done the book because of her personality, and she was very encouraging. So we thank you, Carolyn, very much.
We did our job. She's crying, so we did a good job.
Darlene, on behalf of the Congress, Dunmore Buddy Day, Black Hawk Center, we want to thank you for gracing us your presence here today and the words of wisdom you gave on women. And I think that more people need to understand what God created women for, and you gave us that tonight. So those who didn't get that the lesson you heard, go home and read the Bible. Yes, God bless you. Ms. Colon, you come forward, please. On behalf of the Congress, Dunmore Buddy Day, Black folks who want to present you with flowers and also a plaque of the book, Caribbean book. And God bless you and continue to work with you. Thank you, Clarks. Yes, you go sit down now. Go sit down now. Start on behalf of the Congress, Dunmore Buddy Day, Black folks who want to thank you for giving us the present of your stories, and God continue to bless you. As you go forward, God bless you. Thank you. Client is a sister and also in the College of Black Women, Dunmore Buddy Day, and Black folks who want to thank you for your story you've given us. And like Carolyn said, we were laughing many times. She would tell me stuff that you guys were, but it's all good. Thank you for your story. Thanks for working with us and continue to work in the community. God bless you as you go forward. God bless you. Eddie. Betty, on behalf of the Congress, Dunmore Buddy Day, I'd like to thank you so much for your inspirational spirit, and God bless you and continue. Thank you so much.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, thank you.
Let's give a big hand to the Congress of Black Women.
Can you come forward to them, have you know? Chili. I want to thank you so much on behalf of Sister Catilda for being here today and being present. I got to know your mom in 1992. Said no, when government appointed me to be on the Provincial Health Council, her and I sat there, two black women, and I was not educated too, but she was my mentor, and she was my, I want to get emotional, but she's not here today, but I know her spirit is here. So for those of you who didn't know her, you need to read her story. She was an awesome lady. And many times I go to Cape Breton, she said, don't come across that, what's called, but don't come into my house. So she's not here in body, but she's here in spirit. And thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much.
God bless you. God bless you. God bless you.
Denise, Dolly, come on over.
So you had a chance to see a bit in the video about the collaboration that was able to happen with Dolly. I want to just acknowledge again that you can't capture all that in the words. Carol, I love your comment about stuff comes out after, right? Not on the tape. I mean, the energy and the time that Dolly and Carlotta, the Congress, has done for the original book, right? I hope folks know and have a sense about that. And then this special edition is really important because it is really important to privilege people's voices. So I thank you for all the behind the scenes things that you've done. I thank you for championing the work that we're doing and supporting that so that it could happen. And thank you. I just want to interrupt right there.